As Owen just mentioned, demonstrations continue throughout the country in response to the killing of George Floyd. Floyd, an African-American man, was killed nearly 2 weeks ago after a Minneapolis police officer used his knee to pin down Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes as he begged for air. Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, joins me now from Minneapolis. Philip, welcome back. Tell us a little bit about where you're standing right now.
Well, you can see it behind me, right? This is the memorial for George Floyd. It's almost 2 weeks, as you said, since he was pinned down to the ground by a white police officer that led to his death, of course. What you see behind me is this makeshift memorial that has been getting bigger and bigger every single day. This is where people come to lay flowers, but it is so much more than just a memorial. This is where people come together to reflect. There are speeches here, everybody listening in, and there are actual discussions going on here about race relations in the United States. This is becoming a very, very deep thing now across the United States, a discussion that has to be had. This is also the place, of course, where symbolically protests have begun and ended over the last, well, almost 2 weeks now. And that mural that you can see over my shoulder of George Floyd, well, that was projected onto the wall, in fact, of the sanctuary where the first memorial service for George Floyd took place in a university in central Minneapolis yesterday. It sprung up here shortly after George Floyd's death, and it is now known around the world.
Well, Philip, yesterday the first was a series of tributes honoring the life of George Floyd. One took place in Minneapolis. How is the mood there today?
Well, it's almost festive at times, you could say, here in this precise place. It is a place to recollect, to mourn as well, of course, and that was the same for the memorial service yesterday. It was partly a memorial service for the family, first of all. Some of the brothers of George Floyd spoke, but it was also a rallying cry for this country and for protesters. For example, we heard from the Reverend Al Sharpton. He gave the eulogy for George Floyd yesterday at that memorial service in Minneapolis. He called for big reform in the criminal justice system in the United States. So it was both a moment, a little bit of calm here in Minneapolis and indeed across the country, but also, as I said, a rallying cry for these protests to continue. You can hear it in the background here. It is a true rallying cry that continues. People still crying out the name of George Floyd right here where he died almost 2 weeks since that tragic moment.
Well, Philip, I understand that there have been some new developments on the use of chokeholds by police in the city of Minneapolis. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, for chokeholds to be forbidden is a step being taken by the police of Minneapolis, but it is one that I think will lead most people to ask the question, what were those things in fact legal in the first place? Maybe it does go to show how much reform still has to be done, maybe in local police forces, but also across the country. What we've been seeing here in Minneapolis over the last few days is a return to calm, if you will. The protests across the country and here in Minneapolis have not got smaller, by the way. They've been getting bigger, but they've also been getting more peaceful. I think there might be several reasons for this. First of all, one of the main demands of protesters was met a few days ago with those 4 police officers who were involved in the death of George Floyd right here having been charged in the end. Also, of course, the National Guard is on the streets of Minneapolis and other big cities across the country. And then, of course, there are curfews. Curfews start here in Minneapolis at 10 p.m. But I think more than anything, what you're seeing here is the anger turning into a little bit more of a constructive feeling where people want to reflect on race relations in the United States, but at the same time don't want to lose that enthusiasm for protest and that momentum that currently exists all across the country.
Well, Philip, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press. Thank you again.
Thank you.